Good afternoon, and welcome to the second lesson on real numbers. And in today's lesson, we're going to be looking at the order of operations. Right now, in this lesson, we want to look at what the order of operation is, how to follow the order, why the order matters, and then afterwards, we're going to look at some examples. Okay, right, so to start off, what is the order of operations? Now, this is the order in which we do math operations, right? There are rules to follow when we're simplifying expressions, right? Let's look at this expression, for example. We have 3 minus 7 divided by 4 times 12, right? So now how many operations do we have in this expression, right? We've got the first one here, the second one, and then the third one. So we have a total of 3 operations in this expression, right? Now, even we can see that we have 3 operations, right? And if we were asked to solve this expression here, we would have to follow a particular order, right? Like I said before. Now, why is it important to follow this particular order? It is important because if we all simplified this expression in a different order, then we will all get different answers, right? And that cannot be, because mathematics must be consistent, right? I will repeat that. Mathematics must be consistent. Okay. So let's look at what it actually is, what the order of operations actually is, right? And we have an acronym that we call BID mass, right? And this stands for brackets, indices, division, multiplication, addition, and lastly, subtraction. Okay. Now, we can also represent this acronym here in a pyramid. So if we were to draw the pyramid, it would look something like this, with brackets at the top, seeing as it is the first thing that we must solve, and then indices followed by division and multiplication, and then lastly we have addition and subtraction. Now, you might be wondering why division and multiplication and addition and subtraction are on the same level. Now, this is because that they're each other's opposites, right? The opposite of division is multiplication, and the opposite of addition is subtraction, right? So earlier I said brackets is what we solve first, right? Then we need to move on to indices, right? And let's talk about indices for a second here, right? Just a refresher on what indices are. Let's talk about indices. So when we say indices, we're talking about powers and otherwise known as exponents, right? Now we're talking about powers, and this tells us how many times we must multiply the base number, right? So let's look at an example of an indice, right? So at the top here is what we have. This is the power or the exponent, right? And then this here is what we call the base. So in my description of indices, I said that the power tells us how many times we multiply the base number, right? And this means that this number here, the power, tells us how many times we must multiply the base number by itself. So to solve this, we would then say 2 times 2 times 2, that equals 2 by 2 gives us 4, and then 4 times 2 gives us 8. So to solve that, we would have 8. Right. Now that we've discussed indices and we've talked about brackets, and I gave you a brief explanation on the division and multiplication as well as addition and subtraction, right? We want to look at some examples here, right? And let's look at this question here. We have 3 plus open bracket 4 close bracket 5 here. Then we have minus 6 divided by 2, right? So what would be the first thing that we needed to do in this question? Let me just write the acronym here. So you can see it on screen. Okay, so what would the first operation that we need to carry out be here, right? So brackets is at the top, so we would carry out the brackets first, right? And to solve this, we would then say 4 times 5 gives us 20. So we have 3 plus 20, right? Minus 6 divided by 2. Then we move on to the next step. We've solved the brackets. Do we have any indices? No. So we move on to division, right? So we have a division sign here. So it's 6 divided by 2, right? Which gives us 3 plus 20 minus 3 equals. So now we can simplify this because we have addition and subtraction. So just like in English, in mathematics, we move from left to right. Remember, these two are on the same level. So 3 plus 20 gives us 23, right? So we have 23 minus 3. 23 minus 3 gives us 3. And that will be our final answer. Okay, shall we look at another example? So you have a proper grasp of what I'm talking about here. Right, let's look at another one where we have 7 minus 24 divided by 8 times 4 plus 6. Right, so we are going to look at our expression and compare it with the rules we have here. Do we have any brackets? No. Do we have any indices? No. Do we have division? Yes. So we start with division. We say 24 divided by 8, right? So we have equals to here. 24 divided by 8 will give us 3. So now we have 7 minus 3 times 4 plus 6, right? Now the next step in BidMass is multiplication. So we can see we have multiplication here. So 3 times 4 gives us 12. So we now have 7 minus 12 plus 6. Okay, right. So now we have a minus and a plus left. So now we can say 7 minus 12 gives us minus 5 and then plus 6 here. And then we can simplify. Minus 5 plus 6 gives us 1. Okay, so our answer is positive 1. All right, I hope you have understood from these two examples. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write a few questions that you will attempt on your own, right? So we have 17 minus 6 divided by 2, close the brackets, plus 4 times 3. And then the second one will be 18 divided by 3 minus 2 times 2. And then the third one will be 7 minus 3, close bracket, to the power 2 divided by 4. Okay, now I would suggest that you pause the video for a couple of minutes while you attempt these questions, and then you can unpause and play to view the answers. Okay, now let's look at the answers, gentlemen. So we have 17 minus 6 divided by 2 in brackets plus 4 times 3. And looking at the BIDMAS, we have to solve brackets first. So we solve what is in the brackets in here, and within those brackets we are going to apply the rule of BIDMAS. So within this 2 brackets, we're going to say 6 divided by 2, right, which gives us 3. So we have 17 minus 3 plus 4 times 3. And then we move on. 17 minus 3 will give us 14, right, plus 4 times 3. Right, now we move on. In BIDMAS, we can see the next step is multiplication. So we're going to say 14 plus here. And then 4 times 3 is 12. And then if we add 14 plus 12, that will give us 26. So our answer is positive 26. Okay, now let's look at the second question. The second question was 18 divided by 3 minus 2 times 2. Now, applying the rules of BIDMAS, we can see that the first step is going to be division. So 18 divided by 3 will give us 6. So we will say 6 here, minus 2, multiplied by 2. Then the next step we can see in BIDMAS is we don't have any indices, nor do we have any division left. So the next step is multiplication. So we're going to say 2 times 2, which will give us 4. And then we still have 6 here, right? And then the last step we're going to take is simply say 6 minus 4, which will give us positive 2. So that is the answer for the second question. Now let us finally look at the last question here. So we have 7 minus 3 squared, or to the power of 2, divided by 4. So now we can see we've got a lot of things happening in this one, right? But not to worry, we're going to address our rules here, and we're going to see that the first thing is brackets. So we're going to solve what's in the brackets first and say 7 minus 3, which is going to be 4. So now we have equals to 4 squared divided by 4, right? And then we move on. The next thing that we can see in the rules is indices. So we're going to say 4 squared. And remember, the power here tells us how many times we are multiplying the base number by itself. So it says it is a 2, so we're going to say 4 times 4, which is going to give us 16 divided by 4. Now the last step we're going to take is to say 16 divided by 4, which will take us to 4. And our answer is positive 4. Right, I hope you got all 3 of these correct and you have understood what I have explained in this lesson. And until next time, thank you.